If they do that, the Cougs will be very, 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 very tough to beat.
Off the window, no. Roberts tried to get it. Shed for the win. Got it.
Just with 14 points, but he just looked, the way that he dominated the game was in controlling the pace and making smart decision after decision.
Call him by Slamma Jamma.
Go to pizza spot before or after.
The dream is alive for Houston. Go Cougs! Let's go!
Go Cougs indeed. Welcome into another episode of Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Saxenian Family. We're coming off the heels of the Big 12 conference opener for the Houston Cougars men's basketball team, and it was a successful one, a defensive battle in Stillwater, and the Cougars came out on top over the Oklahoma State Cowboys. But before we get into the specifics of the action, joining me as always, Kris Gardner of the Houston Round Ball Review, Dayon Dunlap. How are you doing on this Monday night?
I'm doing great. I'm laughing at Big Jack, but I'm doing great. Nice, methodical road win for the Cougs to open Big 12 play.
A little switch up from Big Jack. Sometimes he comes full-fledged ready to rage.
Yeah.
I'm doing all as well. I'm doing good as well, man. Good way to open conference play.
Yes, sir. Let's get into that. Like I said, a defensive really masterpiece for the Cougars. I think the most impressive stat coming out of this game was that the Cougars held Oklahoma State without a field goal for 12 minutes and 18 seconds of total game time, stretching both from the first half and into the second half. 0 field goals during that stretch, only 1 single point. They turned a 6-point deficit into really a double-digit lead that they never relinquished, and they were just able to kind of cruise past once they built that double-digit lead. J'Wan Roberts had a signature J'Wan Roberts game, finished with 20 points, 11 rebounds for his season high when it comes to points this year. And LJ Cryer got hot late. Milo started hitting some timely shots, and the Cougars did just enough to come away with the victory. What do you guys want to talk about first? Houston's defensive performance or any one player specifically?
I'll go with Juan first. Well, first, Coach Sampson and the staff made an obvious point to get the ball in the paint. I mean, Juan had it early in the post. JoJo, even JVR had touches in the post. That was the game plan, was to go get the ball down low. And I checked. I heard the announcer say during the broadcast, Juan had 26 points as career high against Tulane. So it wasn't a career high, season high of 20, but his career high was 26. But after he missed his first 2 shots, to me, it looked like the coaching staff was daring Oklahoma State to double team J'Wan or anybody in the post. And if they did that, they kick it out, for 3-point looks. If they didn't, Juan to go ahead and score 1-on-1. And that's what he did time and time again.
Yeah, I think, like Kris said, that was part of the game plan, but I think that's going to be part of the philosophy going forward. I think without, like we've mentioned in numerous shows, of not having a player that strength is breaking down the defense and getting in the paint, one of the ways to do that is simply throwing the ball down in the paint. And I think that's going to be a point of emphasis and use that a way to get the ball in the paint and just allow J'Wan to not only have the type of game he did, but play through him, allow him to make plays, utilize his playmaking, his passing as well. But this is the game I've been waiting to see from him. I think this is the game, and what way to step up conference play when I'm sure he hasn't had the start of the season as he would want it, but to have start conference play when he's picked to be an all-conference player is a good way to come out and be dominant like he was tonight.
And he even scored with his offhand, too. He had 2 jump-ups with the right hand. Go ahead, Andy. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, to your point, career high for J'Wan Roberts, 26 points, February 22nd, 2023 against Tulane, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and Oklahoma State, they are short up front. So Coach Sampson is old school. If he likes to get the ball down low first and foremost, he likes to attack. And if that's an advantage, he'll stick with it. As Dayon has said many, many times on these shows correctly, Coach Sampson will let the game dictate how he coaches. And Oklahoma State had no answer for Juan. And so, hey, feed the post. And that's what it was. They just kept feeding the post. Worked for me. I'm good with that.
Really, just thinking back, Coach Sampson has always thrown the ball into the post, even back to Breon and so forth.
Yeah.
And so I think this is another way, like I just mentioned, get the ball in the paint, but also kind of get your front players going. I think to get them more involved offensively, and that, like what the announcer said, I think that is the kind of the next evolution. You have such a prolific 3-point shooters, and sometimes when they struggle to make shots and the team struggles to find shots and put shots, one way to do that is to throw it in and see if you can collapse the defense, force them to react and get some open looks and create some driving lanes as well. And so I like this attack. It needs to be more consistent from J1 because they're going to need them for Houston and to win the Big 12 and to have that versatile offensive attack.
He played well. Terrence Arsenault played like his first road game in the Big 12.
Yeah, he struggled.
He didn't, he struggled with some turnovers, kind of just out of sync. JoJo got in foul trouble and ultimately fouled out. So Emmanuel didn't take a lot of shots, but he didn't have to. The double-digit points came from Juan, Malos, and LJ. As Andy said, LJ only scored 5 points in the first half, and with Juan getting the ball so much early in the first half, LJ didn't take a shot for a while, but that was okay. Cougs still led. I mean, they were down 17-11, and then went on a run, and Oklahoma State could make a layup. They just struggled, and then the Cougars offense started working methodically, and they started pulling the lead, stretching it out, and it wasn't going away. The last 6 points that Oklahoma State scored, the game was not in doubt. The game was over, at halftime, honestly. But hey, it's a road win in the Big 12. That's all that matters.
I think this is the big thing from Big Jack 512. He says he liked Jawan's body language. He's had the eye of the tiger tonight against the Cowboys.
Agreed. I'm going to be picky. This is Oklahoma State. Okay, it's good that he got it done. But again, I want to see him do this against the better teams in the Big 12. He is very capable of doing what he almost had a double-double at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want to see from him. Crash those boards, score in the paint against the better and bigger teams. He does that, then the Cougs be that much better in conference play.
Yeah, like Kris said, I want to see it against the upper echelon of the Big 12, but I give him credit for coming out and being dominant on the road, setting the tone. I mean, with his experience, first conference game on the road, that's how he's supposed to come out and set the tone. And that's what I expected, and that's what we got. But like I said, and like Kris is saying, consistency and set the tone against the top of the Big 12. And I have no doubts that he will, but I want to see it.
Yeah, we challenge him because he has the skill set, the skill. I mean, as Dayon has said, Andy said, we've all said, and folks who watched enough basketball know, he's good enough to score. If they're not going to double team, make him go to his offhand, he can get that jump hook in the paint all day. But if they do, he is a good enough passer to kick it out, to open up 3-point shots or driving opportunities for the teammates to penetrate off of his kickouts. So an effective, engaged Juan Roberts makes the Cougs a much better team.
And it gives us a much necessary third option because there were stretches now. Emmanuel had an off night tonight, but it just adds that versatility where a lot of stretches, and specifically when we're talking about the 3 losses that they had in non-conference where Houston really struggled because they would go on stretches where they just couldn't get in the paint because Juwan Roberts wasn't producing consistently enough, and that made them much easier to guard, and it was just harder for Houston to be able to get a consistent score on offense in those losses, and it was a key part into Houston falling in each of those 3 games.
And he seems to I don't want to say, like, the body language is a great catch by Big Jack, because it's like he plays with a different level of confidence where his offense is going. I think his offense boosts his defense and boosts his all around game, but it's like he has to get to see the ball go through before he can just kind of take that next step as far as in the game. It seems like,
and I was kind of leery of that tonight, because he missed his first 2 shots.
His first couple. Yep.
he
And he
left them
stayed with
short,
it.
but he stayed with it. He got it going. And this is the Juan Roberts that we want to see game in, game out for the Cougs the rest of the season.
Looking at top to bottom, like you mentioned, Kris, LJ Cryer, 18 points. 13 of those 18 came in the second half, 4 for 8 shooting from the three-point line. Milo Zuzan finished with 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists himself. Jojo Tugler, we mentioned, 4 points, 2 of 6 shooting from the field, fouled out in this game. Emmanuel Sharp, only 2 points, 1 of 4 shooting. Only played 22 minutes in this game, and Javier Francis came in 2 points, 1 of 4 shooting. He was able to track down 5 rebounds in 19 minutes. Malik Wilson, 2 points, only 2 rebounds in 15 minutes. And Terrence Arsenal, like we mentioned, 0 points, 0 for 3 shooting. The big key for him, the 3 turnovers. Some of them were really bad down the stretch that he had throughout the course of the game. But the big story of the night, outside of Juwan Roberts and LJ Cryer scoring wise, was the defense that the Cougars did against Oklahoma State. Like, they clamped up the Cowboys in this game. The leading scorer for Oklahoma State, Brandon Newman, who only had 12 points in the game, and really, like you mentioned, Kris, the last 6 points for Oklahoma State came down at the end of the game when, really everything was decided. But to hold this team to 25.9% shooting from the field, only 4 of 19 on threes, and really being able to finish defensive possessions. Now, Oklahoma State helped them a couple of times. There were a few times when the Cowboys were able to get right to the rim, and they just missed point-blank layups at times. But overall, the physicality was something that Oklahoma State struggled to match in this game. And again, going back to holding a team, any team, for over 12 minutes without a field goal and only 1 point in any stretch in any game is impressive. Like, that's an impressive stretch, quite frankly, that I've seen over the last few years covering this Houston team.
Agreed. The defense, Cougs locked in. Defensive rebounding is still, we're going to nitpick here and there. That might be the one thing that keeps this defense from being the best Cougar defense, under Coach Sampson. But the field goal percentage defense is outstanding. For a lot of the game, Oklahoma State had more turnovers than they had made buckets.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up with 14 apiece, but they were 3 for 22 on layups. They were shook. The Cougs' physical defense just wore them down, got into their heads. And, Oklahoma State, I think they have the highest / worst, either them or K-State, net ranking. This is a transition year for Coach Lutz. These players, they are, transferred from UCF and transfers. These guys they'll compete. Okay, they didn't quit, but they're not on a Cougs level. But to the Cougs' credit, they played like it, and once they started slow, but once they got it going, they let Oklahoma State know, you guys are not going to win this game.
Yeah, man, that defense was very, very impressive. I think, I know I've kind of, I don't want to say didn't give credit, but they get some of the weaker teams and they have these similar performances. I was like, I want to see it against better competition. And Oklahoma State, although, like Chris just mentioned, they got a new coach and transitioning, a lot of those players played at high levels in
Yep.
big time conferences. So they have some players with talent that can play. It's just about chemistry and putting it all together. And so it was good to see them to be so in tune with the scout report and limit the top scores, the top go-to players, really just hold them out. It was very, very, very impressive. I think with that defense, even when Houston struggles to score, defense will keep them in games. They're a really good defensive team. They swarm, they help the helper. Like, they are really one the core defensively.
Their defense was so good that it helped to mitigate some of the turnovers. Because some of the turnovers, in the first half would, Kevin Sampson, I'm sure Coach Sampson won't be happy with that at all. But they stopped Oklahoma State from scoring fast break opportunities, stopped them scoring in transition. That's one thing Oklahoma State likes to do, is play fast and get out and run. The Cougs, even after turnovers, did not allow them to do that. So that added to the frustration. But salute to the defense. Like Dayon said, the scout was on point.
Real quickly, like to stop right there and say a big thank you first and foremost to Steve Saxenian for being the primary sponsor of today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. This is Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Saxenian Family. So a big thank you to Mr. Steve Saxenian, who has been the primary sponsor not only of tonight's episode of Let's Rage Coogs, but each and every single post-game show dating back to the football season. Will continue to do so throughout the entire regular season of the men's basketball season. And of course, we also like to say thank you to Star Pizza for being a secondary sponsor on today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. With 3 locations throughout the Houston area, Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. Be sure to visit them online at starpizza.net or follow them on their social media platforms at Star Pizza HOU. They constantly have deals that they are sharing on their social media pages, and you can even order online if you visit their website. So big thank you to our sponsors, and of course also big thank you to everybody that's taking the time to comment on YouTube or on X, wherever you guys may be watching on this Monday night. Seeing a lot of comments about Jojo Tugler, and you mentioned it, fouled out in this game. He had a lot of real stretches throughout this game where he just struggled to stay on the floor because he constantly kept getting in foul trouble.
He was over aggressive, at times, and he got off balance a few times. And I mean, I agree with Michael Brown. 2 of those fouls, they were kind of ticky-tack, but one was far from the rim basket, 2 on a hedge that sometimes refs don't call, sometimes refs do. The first half, the Cougs had 5 fouls called in the first half, 5 or 6. Refs called it tighter in the second half, I guess, which kind of helped Oklahoma State a little bit. But JoJo has to learn how to adjust to how the refs are calling the game. It's conference play now, and he's got to figure that out, keep himself on the floor, because the Cougs, his teammates will need him during conference play for sure.
Yeah, like you said, Kris, 5 personal fouls as a team in the first half, 11 in the second half called against Houston.
So, yeah, I don't think the Cougs played differently. I think the refs called it differently a little bit, but, they didn't play less aggressive. So, I mean, I'm being picky there, but hey.
Nah, I agree with everything you guys said. I just think JoJo, like Kris just said, he has to learn how to channel that aggressive. They even mentioned it during the broadcast. Just once he learns how to channel that aggressive and play within himself without fouling and staying on the floor more, then he's going to be just even more impactful than he already is.
But he blocked some shots. He does things that other players just can't do.
Can't do right.
Just got to keep himself on the floor. And once he does, he'll get there. But once he does, just another tool in the toolbox for Coach Sampson to utilize.
What are your guys' thoughts on how Milo's played in this game? We haven't really talked about him, but just looking at statistically, he had a pretty decent outing. Like I said, 12 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and something to the credit to both LJ Cryer and Milos. They were in the passing lanes. They were getting a lot of steals against this Oklahoma State team, but we kind of saw it towards the tail end of non-conference, the comfort level with Milos just looking on the floor. Now, granted, the 2 opponents that they played to finish non-conference, they were who they were. Seeing it against Oklahoma State in the Big 12 conference opener on the road, really seeing Milos that comfort level. It looks like he's much more fitting in with the Houston Cougars, and really that was this nice pass that he had that was set up by Jawan Roberts on the backdoor cut and gave it to Milos, and Milos, it looked impressive. It looked like he was off balance. Was able to find Javier Francis, who had a very impressive slam dunk, but overall top to bottom, feel like this is a pretty solid performance for Milos again in the Big 12 conference opener on the road.
It was solid. His first half was shaky at some points. I mean, we could hear on the broadcast, Coach Sampson yelling at him to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
So there were some times he did not shoot it. Second half, he had a couple of corner threes that was, designed looks in the offense. So I like that. I think his 3-point shots from the corner, that could be a strength for him and the team. He's rounding into form, and I think it's a positive for him. He's still trying to figure out that balance of when to attack, want to be aggressive. He still, for my taste, he picks up his dribble still too damn much. Okay, you're the point guard. Keep your dribble alive to keep the offense going. But he's getting there. He's getting better.
Yeah, I think he had a good game. I think, like Kris said, kind of shaking the first half, but just looking at the looks he got, it seems like he's figuring like where his spots is, where he's going to get the ball. He just looked more comfortable and within what the team expects from him and what the coaching staff. So he looked just more freely. But I like the way he played today. I think he saw the floor well. He finished well, like Kris. He picks up his dribble too much for my liking as well. I mean, it's like once he comes off a screen, it's just too much pity patting the
Yeah.
ball instead of literally a dribbling going downhill. But I guess I don't know. It's just for me from what I see. But I think overall he had a good game. His jump shot really looked good, and especially from that corner. The team expects it to go in, and so. I like what I saw from him today.
He played well. He had, I think, a point in the first half where he picked up his dribble in the paint or right around the paint. And then moments later, he attacked and was aggressive and finished with the left hand drive and layup.
Yeah.
Just stay aggressive, young man. It's at times, it seems like he doesn't trust his own skills. I mean, you're good enough to score. You're good enough to drive and finish. And as Coach Sampson has said to the media, said to fans, and I'm sure said to Los himself, Milos, there's a reason that the staff wanted you. Okay, there's a reason why they went after you. You're good enough to be a Cougar. Just trust yourself and continue to be aggressive, and he'll be fine.
This is an interesting point by Crabtree.
Before we go to that point,
yeah.
I think it's also replacing Jamal Shead being in that spot. I don't want to say he was trying to be Jamal, but I think it's easier said than done to actually settle in and not. I don't think he was trying to be Jamal, but I think unconsciously, not on the court, but before the games, he just kind of looking to really assert himself and be who he is. I don't know if that makes sense, but it just.
Yeah, he needs. I know what you're saying. I think King said it during the game as well. He needs to just be himself. Okay, he's not Jamal Shead. Don't try to be Jamal Shead. Be the best version of you, and that should be good enough for this team to still reach its goals this season. Just be the best version. Be the best Los you can be.
To go back to Dayon's point, when he's attacking, coming off the screens and getting downhill, getting all the way to the rim, he's a great finisher. And like you mentioned, Kris, on that finish with the left hand, it's probably something where the Cougars are, not probably, it is when the Cougars are at their strengths, because even once they get to collapse, if they are able to stop him, he's able to make the right decision and find his open teammates. And Alger Cryer was a good benefactor tonight in that second half. That's where he was able to get a lot of his open threes off great ball movement that was initiated by attacking.
And I thought of Dayon. I thought of you, brother, late in the second half in transition when Los pushed it up the right side of the court and kicked it back to LJ for a transition three. I'm like, yep, they're getting there. They're getting the chemistry. It's coming. You can see it's coming. More time they play together, they're getting it. It's starting to click.
And they did play a little faster today when an opportunity presented itself.
Mm-hmm.
They got out in an open floor, and they really ran. I think non-conference really prepared them, especially those losses. It really highlighting what they needed to do as far as in certain moments. And even in the blowouts, they was able to strengthen some of those things they needed to work on. And so, I mean, it was this game was a good telling. I was talking to someone before who was a Kansas fan who I worked with, and he like me. I was like, "What you expecting?" He's like, "Man, I got to see the first few conference games." And I was like, "Same." I mean, I want to see the first few conference games. Although I expect them to compete for a championship, I still got to be able to see
it. And this game for the Cougs had a little bit of everything. They had the low post offense. At times they played fast, scoring off of Cowboys turnovers. So it's a little mix up, mixing up of the offense. Still some, like we said, Terrence did not play well in his first road game, Big 12 road game. JoJo on a foul, trouble. Emmanuel only had 4 shots, but it really wasn't in the offense for him to take a lot of shots tonight. And Coach Sampson did shrink his rotation, as he does and many coaches do on in conference road games for sure.
Yeah, to the point that Crabtree said, really, Houston only went 8 deep for their majority of the portions of that game in the second half. Throughout the first half, when I mean the game was still within reach of Oklahoma State, and I mean it was interesting to figure the 8 that he played, and like you mentioned, Kris, a tighter rotation in their first road game, going back really to Houston's execution in this game. Of the game plan, not involving Emmanuel Sharp in this game, but I still felt like he did solid, especially defensively. And something that the players had mentioned heading into this game is that they feel like they're better when they're playing at a faster pace. And it was something that even in that first half, when Oklahoma State got up by 6, the Cougars were, I don't know if you could say playing more freely, but it felt like they were just going out there and reacting and just playing rather than, you know, slowing down, having to set different things. I think that was kind of one of the key aspects that helped them unlock a lot of their offensive success towards the tail end of the first half and carried it into the second half, being able to play much more with pace and be more free.
The Cougs didn't panic. Oklahoma State went up 6, 17, 11. Looking at the play-by-play, the Cougs tied the game up in less than a minute. So they didn't panic, and that's what, a veteran squad does. You're down 6 on the road. I was kind of leaning, I wonder if coach would call timeout. Nope. Trusted his guys, and he tied it up in less than a minute. This team, and we've heard coach say it. He said it in, press conferences. He likes this team. This team is getting better, and we're seeing the improvement in this team just from the start of this month to now. And it's another Kelvin Sampson led team getting better week to week, month to month. And I'm looking forward to Saturday's home opener against those other Cougars.
Yeah, Houston returns to action Saturday afternoon, 1 p.m. Tip-off time from the Fertitta Center against BYU, who they're currently 9-2. They have their conference opener tomorrow against Arizona State at 3 p.m. Central Time, which will air on ESPN2. So it'll be interesting to see how BYU looks. The first time that the other Cougs, like you said, Kris, visit the Fertitta Center since the 2019, the last time BYU was there. They won at the buzzer, so it'll be interesting to see how that game plays out on Saturday. But really, well, first of all, they play defense like they did against Oklahoma State tonight. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. More often than not, the Houston Cougars are going to come out victorious on top. But it's going to be interesting to see how this team, not just on Saturday, but I think over the course of the rest of conference play, how they continue to evolve and develop offensively, because we still saw stretches, in particular early in this first half, where the offense struggled a little bit. But we see that they have the pieces down there. It's just a matter of, like, imagine a night today where Jawan Roberts has what he does, LJ Cryer has a night, Miles had his night, and then say Emmanuel is able to produce closer to 10. Like, there's still so much potential.
And
with
Terrence
this
Arsenault, same. So yeah.
Yes. So the pieces are there. It's just a matter of getting them all really on the same page, like a well-oiled machine, and that's something that they're going to continue to do, quite frankly, for the rest of the season, however many games they play.
Yeah, we want to see everybody play well together. 4 or 5 guys clicking it together. That doesn't happen all the time, especially in conference games, especially on the road in conference games. But as Andy, you said, you can see the potential there. First half, JoJo missed some shots around the bucket. Javier missed some shots around the rim. They were going inside, pounded inside. They got some good looks. They just missed. Then they settled down. Juan got it going. Then they stretched the lead, led by 10 at halftime. And it's a road win. And what does Kellen say, Andy, about road games?
Our road games are street fights.
Cougs won. Let's see, there are 4 Big 12 games on the schedule tonight. Only one road team has won so far. That's the Cougs. Iowa State's losing to Colorado on the road by 3. 11 minutes left, and next week got plenty of time. But Cincinnati lost to Kansas State.
That was the upset.
That's a big win for Kansas State because they needed it because they had some tough losses in non-conference, some kind of bad loss for the conference as a whole. But Arizona won at home against TCU. Road wins are precious, man. Get them where you can and keep on moving.
Yep, I agree, and that's why I think much credit to Jaywan. I'm glad we started by talking to Jaywan because you can't undermine how tough it is to win on the road. I just remember last year, lost those first 2 road games, and coming into this game, that's what I was thinking about. And as you guys were just speaking, just thinking back to years past, Houston hasn't really had one player that you had to slow down and you can beat them.
Yeah.
And so it's from year in and year out. They've had like 3 or 4 players who can get you 15 to 20 a night on any given game. And now it's just kind of like Simmons years past about building that consistencies within the team and having your first couple option guys be consistent when at least getting what they need to get. And so I mean I like this team a lot.
Yeah, and Coach Sampson, he's told us. I think he put me in my place a couple of years ago when he said, I don't coach teams that have a guy get 25 points a night. That's not my style of play. I have guys who are capable on certain nights to get 25 or 30 if need be, but I'm not going to coach a team where a guy averages 25 points a game. That's not who. And I'm like, yes, sir. And and to Dayon's point, this team is just balanced. They got different guys who can score in double figures based on the opponent and based on the matchups.
Real quickly, once again, I'd like to thank each and every single person that has taken the time out of their Monday night to join us. Everyone that's comment on YouTube or via X, however you may be watching us on this episode of Let's Rage Coogs. And we also like to say thank you to Steve Saxenian for being the primary sponsor of today's episode of the Let's Rage Coogs postgame show. And also a big thank you to our secondary sponsor, In Star Pizza. Be sure to stop by on Tuesdays and Fridays during lunchtime for their all-you-can-eat pizza buffet. And like I mentioned earlier, be sure to check them out online at starpizza.net and on their social media platforms such as at starpizza HOU via X, where they're constantly posting their weekly, daily specials even. So be sure to stop by any one of their 3 locations. And when you do, be sure to tell them that you heard about them on Let's Rage Coogs. So like
I need to ask them to send some pizzas to us on Saturday, Andy.
Saturday night game will be there, 1 p.m. tip-off, like I said earlier, against BYU. It'll be interesting to see how BYU does against Arizona State, 2 teams that have identical records heading into their conference opener, both at 9-2. Really how the conference league does overall as a whole, how that goes and shakes up with the new additions in conference. Really, the last player that we haven't talked about that much about this game is LJ Cryer, where EI Crabtree just said, with a quiet 18 points. But he got to spots when he was open. He knocked down his shots more often than not, especially in that second half. Really good showing. He was able to rack up 18 points without really doing anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, he did what was needed. He let Juan be the focal point in the first half. LJ and Los each scored 5 points early in the second half, and then LJ got it going. It's a good sign. And there were times when he brought the ball up the floor. Milos did sometimes. Emmanuel did sometimes. So little different tweaks in the offense, just different guys initiating the offense. Another positive and more versatility for the Cougs going forward. And I talk about Iowa State. They're now up on the Buffaloes by 1. That's a good one. 10 minutes left in that game on, I think it's CBS Sports Network.
Yep.
Part of the Big 12's expanded TV package for men's basketball.
Yeah, so we'll see how that
Yeah,
game ends.
LJ was just steady tonight. Like
Yeah.
Kris just said, he just let the game come to him. Missed a couple open shots, but made most of the shots when they was there. He was efficient tonight. And so it was a good sighting from LJ. I was just looking in those moments. One of the color commentator, King, he actually I think knows LJ really well. He
Mhm.
of course what I didn't notice until I was watching the game. He said he actually when LJ took his tour to Baylor, he was still there and helped him there. But LJ is a 3-point specialist who hunts 3-point shots.
Yeah.
But one thing he noticed, he's better at bringing the ball up, initiating the offense, and getting inside and working on his mid range, and that's something he needs to continue to do. But I like the game that LJ had.
Overall, good road win for the Cougs. Some players did not play their best, but their teammates picked them up, and it was a road win in the Big 12.
And yeah, Crabtree's points. Oklahoma State came in averaging 80 points a game, and to hold them to their season low by far. I think the TV broadcast mentioned, I guess the ESPN Plus stream mentioned that their lowest point heading into this game was 63-ish points. Like that was the lowest that they had heading into this game, and Houston was well able to hold them under
65.
what that
I
was.
think it was 65.
Yeah, so that's 16. 16, 15, 18 points. If I do the math, it was 65. It's 18 points that they held them compared to their previous season lows. So, again, a phenomenal job defensively. And really, Oklahoma State seemed out of whack the entire game. And their defense was good when you had players starting to second guess their shots. And when they had open shots, they were taking them, and then they were taking contested shots. So that's a testament to how well defensively Houston played. In this game, overall, they now improved to 9-3. Obviously, since the Big 12 opener, they improved to 1-0 in conference play. Very early so far, 1 of 20 for
20.
Houston
Yep.
in the Big 12 conference play. So 19 more to go. And they'll be right back Saturday afternoon at the Fertitta Center against BYU. That's pretty much going to do it for today's show. Kris, Dayon, I'll toss it over to you. Any final thoughts on this game, or even looking ahead at BYU or anything else?
Good road win for the Cougs. Good to see Mr. Roberts deliver, get touches and offense down low, and he got it going. He was 9 for 13 from the floor. Even made both of his free throws, so that's good as well. BYU is a better team than Oklahoma State, but the UH Cougars will be playing at home, and it's a game they should win. So I'm looking forward to the matchup, but good to start conference play with the road win, 1-0, and on to BYU on Saturday.
Looking forward to BYU. I'm surprised they got the number 1 player coming in next year. I know that has nothing to do with the game, but they got a big star coming in. But looking forward to Houston. Just continue to build that chemistry, man. Smilos is one of be those players that's important down the field. Primarily, I like his defensive pressure. We didn't mention that throughout the show. I think he did a good job of setting the tone, pressuring the ball, and that's very important in Houston's defense. And so I like the way he's seeing the floor. I want him to continue to push the ball. All players to get that extra pass, play a little more in transition. I'm looking forward to this team, man. They can beat you in a plethora of ways. I think as long as they continue to establish a low post threat, whether it's J1, JoJo, or Javier, or even Terrence and his ISO post actions. And so looking forward to this team, man. I think they have a good shot.
And just got the email from Jeff Conrad that once Oklahoma State sends him the press conference link, he'll send it to the media, and hopefully the Cougs will post it on the Houston Athletics YouTube channel as well.
And that's pretty much going to do it. Real quick, score check. Iowa State leads Colorado 61-57 with 7:42. Looks like they're at the under 8-minute timeout there. So go see how that game ends. Again, big thank you to everybody that took their time out of their Monday night to join us and comment on today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. We can't thank you enough for supporting us. If you're new to the channel, if you're new to the show, be sure to hit the like button and make sure you hit the subscribe button. Continue to comment. That really helps us out. So again, big thank you to each and every single one of you, to Steve Saxenian, to Mike and Jennifer Pittman with Star Pizza. We'll be back Saturday. The final Let's Rage Coogs of 2024 is in the rearview mirror. We're on to 2025.
Indeed, and thank you everybody for your comments and your questions, participating in the show. Salute to the Saxenian family. Salute to Star Pizza. Big shout out and appreciation to my brothers Dayon and Andy for another good show, and look forward to doing 19 more of these in the regular season, and then however more in the Big 12 tournament, but ultimately, hopefully 6 more in the NCAA tournament. But everybody, as always, the Houston Round Ball Review, y'all know it since 1994, the Houston Round Ball Review. Local name, global perspective.
Thank you to the sponsors as well, Saxenian Family, Star Pizza, all the supporters, you guys, everyone who commented, didn't comment, but spent the time with us during your Monday night. Look forward to the new year as we continue to build. We hope you all looking for sponsorships or looking away to broadcast on any of our channels. Postgame Jammo, the Houston Round Ball Review. Please contact us. We're open for business, and we're looking forward to growing. It's a new year. We want to grow more, continue to expand, and help Cougs, man. If you guys are former Cougs, help us out. We want to grow. We want to be on site and do more things. What would you guys like to see more of? More interactive, let us know. So we want to keep this thing going, man. We appreciate you guys, and as always, go Cougs.